lockdown, and police tell us that the shooting just happened near the school. Champs Charter High School of the Arts, Multimedia, and Performing is a school for students in a rigorous program. And again, the shooting happened just nearby. This is near Van Nuys and Van Noen in Van Nuys. We are getting very few details just yet about that shooting or how close it was to the school. We have not heard if there are any students involved in this or if the students were even out around the campus when this shooting actually took place. But you can see that there are 3 different ambulances there and police and fire crews walking around the school. Again, this is in Van Nuys, just there at the corner of Van Nuys and Van Noen. And what we're hearing is that the shooting took place in the area, but a specific location has not been provided to us just yet. But you can see a lot of activity, a lot of police cruisers out there and fire personnel on the scene of this. We don't know if there are any injuries that have happened once the shooting happened, if anyone was hit or not. But we are going to be doing a simulcast now on this shooting that took place near Champs High School. Now, this is a charter high school. Again, the school has been on lockdown for just a short time. What we're hearing, you can see Sky 9 high above the scene here, giving us a better look at what is actually happening there on the ground, but a lot of police presence there. We are still waiting to hear from school personnel about what is happening with those students and if there were any students involved in the shooting that took place just a little earlier this afternoon, but very few details are coming in at this point, but certainly a lot of activity. We don't know if anyone has been taken into custody just yet, but police are on the scene. At this time, it's hard to tell if they're looking. We see some people on the roof nearby there, and they're getting a look from up above to see a better look, actually, of the scene. But again, a lot of police activity here at the corner of Van Nuys and Van Noen, where a shooting took place near Champs High School. This is a rigorous program for students involved in the arts, and lots of aircraft up in the air. We just saw another helicopter flying, but again, we are just waiting for more information about the shooting that took place so close to the school and whether or not any students are involved in this. But you can see a lot of activity out there this afternoon. And a reminder, we are simulcasting this now on CBS and KCAL 9, making sure that we bring you all of the information that we get as soon as possible. And again, this is a shooting that took place just this afternoon near Champs High School in Van Nuys, at the corner of Van Nuys and Van Noen. School is on lockdown. We're still waiting for word about who was involved in this. And the police tell us that the shooting actually happened near the school. And again, the Charter High School of the Arts, it's a multimedia and performing arts that engages students in a rigorous program there. But certainly waiting for more word about this shooting incident that happened so close to their campus. Of course, for parents that get word that their students are involved in a lockdown, it's always a frightening time for parents because you just don't know what's happening. And we are still waiting for word to find out about this shooting and who was involved, and just how close it really was to the campus is obvious here at the intersection of Van Noen and Van Nuys. But there was a lot of police presence, and we have not heard of any injuries at this point. But we are hearing that the fire department is helping police at this point with a possible, what we're hearing now is it was a possible shooting incident, but we are waiting for word on where the shooting actually took place, whether or not it was on the campus or just nearby. But so far, no word of any injuries for parents that are waiting, but the students are in a lockdown right now at Champs High School. And as you can see, that's at Van Nuys and Van Noen in Van Nuys. And this shooting near the school, possible, we're hearing now, possible shooting near the school that happened just this afternoon, just a short time ago. And you can see a lot of police presence and fire personnel on the scene. At this point, though, no reports of injuries at this point. But we do know that there are reports that a shooting happened Actually, we are just now hearing, I'm getting word right now that there are at least 2 victims, 2 shooting victims, but we have not heard yet that we don't know what the condition is of these 2 people, and they are still looking. It sounds as though they are still looking for a suspect, but we do know that there are at least 2 shooting victims. We do not know the condition of these 2 people, and at this point, we don't know if they were students or just somewhere near the campus, but we do know that this school, Champs Charter High School, is on lockdown after 2 people were shot in the area, possibly on campus. But again, we are still waiting to find out, but we do know that the school is on lockdown. Again, this is Champs High School. It's a charter high school for students in multimedia and performing arts, and we are just anxiously awaiting more information because we know how frightening it can be for parents hearing that their child's school is on lockdown, and we are just trying to get as much information as we can, as quickly as we can, and we are simulcasting right now on CBS and on KCAL, and of course we have more information online, but we are just waiting to get more word about the shooting incident that happened just after noon today at the intersection of Van Nuys and Van Noen near Champs Charter High School. And you can see so many police cruisers on the scene. You can see a lot of activity, officers there. No word yet on a suspect or the condition of the 2 people that were shot this afternoon near Champs Charter High School. And again, so many questions still remain, trying to find out if these victims or even perhaps the shooter have any involvement with Champs Charter High School, or if it is just nearby. But we are still just trying to get information as quickly as possible to you. But really an active scene here at the intersection of Van Nuys and Van Noen. And the shooting, we are told, just happened after noon. And the condition of the 2 people that were shot, still unknown at this time. It's still a very active, very fresh scene at this time. You can see so much police activity and fire personnel on scene treating the 2 people that were shot. And we understand that police are still looking for a suspect at this time. But again, the students at Champs Charter High School are in lockdown right now. Students inside, and certainly parents have a lot of questions and concerns once they hear that their child's school is on lockdown. But information coming slowly to us again that 2 people have been shot. We do not know their condition, and we understand that police are still looking for a suspect. This again happening near what we're hearing, near Champs High School, which is a charter school for performing arts, and students are involved in a very rigorous program here at the school. But again, you can see people on a rooftop there looking around, and certainly the search is still on for the shooter. But we do know that 2 people have been shot, and we are trying to get word on their condition at this point, and also the search for that shooter. We want to give you as much information as we can, as quickly as we can. But this all happening around noon. There were calls out to police that there was a shooting. We've now learned that 2 people were shot. We are hearing that the suspect actually fired shots at the school. But at this point, we don't know if the 2 people that were injured in the shooting are students or someone who may work at the school. But we do know that this person that police are looking for did shoot at Champs Charter High School in Van Nuys. This is at the corner of Van Nuys and Van Noen, a very active scene, and we are getting as much information to you as soon as we get it, because we know the concern when you hear a school is on lockdown, that a shooting happened at a school, that someone was firing shots at the school. Certainly a very tense situation that we are getting from Sky 9 here. We can see all of the police cruisers and the fire personnel and so many police officers on the scene here looking for that suspect who fired at the school just after noon. 2 people again have been hurt. At least we're trying to find out how serious those injuries are. We do not know at this point if they are students. Actually, now we are hearing that there are actually 2 suspects that police are looking for. I'm giving you this information as quickly as I get it, but again, police tell us that they are looking for 2 suspects, and there are at least 2 people that have been shot when these 2 people fired shots into Champs Charter High School. This is a charter school for students that are involved in performing arts. It's a very rigorous school for these students, and we understand that the school is on lockdown. It has been on lockdown since right around noon this afternoon. Police on the scene looking for two people that we are told fired shots at the school. We don't know who these people are at this point that police are looking for, if these shots hit the school and whether or not they were firing at each other and they just hit the school, if the suspects are in fact from the school or if the victims are from the school. We just know at this point that there are two people that have been shot and that police are looking for two students. Once again, if you are just joining us, we are learning that Champs Charter High School is on lockdown. This is a performing arts school in Van Nuys at the corner of Van Nuys and Van Owen. And what we are learning is that the school is on lockdown after someone fired shots at the school. We're hearing that police are looking for two suspects and at least two people have been shot. We have not received word yet of their condition or how the shooting, if at all, is connected to the school or if it just happened near the school. But we do know that those shots did hit the area, injuring two people, at least at this point that we are hearing. We have not heard of any more injuries, but we do know that police are currently looking for two suspects involved in this. Again, happening at the Champs Charter High School, performing arts school. The school has been on lockdown since just after noon. Sky 9 giving us a closer look. You can see officers there on the scene near a fast food restaurant. People looking around, officers looking. You can see there are some looks to be civilians in the area as well as those police officers, and they are near the school, certainly looking around for those two suspects. We have not received a description of those suspects just yet. Of course, we will bring it to you as soon as we get it. We've seen a lot of fire crews on the scene. We're not seeing quite as many vehicles at this point. I have to assume that that means that these people have been transported to the hospital, but we have not received word of their condition or why someone was shooting at or in the area of Champs Charter High School. Again, the school is on lockdown. Two people hurt, and police are searching for two suspects at this point. Certainly a scary time. We do have, right now, we are hearing from an employee that works at a tire shop nearby, and he joins us now on the phone. Good afternoon, sir. What can you tell us that you've seen out there?
Well, first we heard the shots. Then the kids from charter school, they were outside, lunch break, I believe. And as soon as they heard the shot, everybody evacuated inside. They all run inside. Then after a couple minutes, the police arrive, ambulance arrive. It looks like somebody got shot, you know. That's what there is to it. There is lots of policemen and police cars, undercovers, ambulances. Everybody's here right now. So.
Sir, can you say whether or not you could tell if the people that were shot were actually students?
No, they weren't the students. I believe there is a cross street Starbucks. They said, somebody told me from there, two young guys, from there they started it, so that's all they told me. And there was a girl, she started running that way. I don't know.
And what you can see from your vantage point is that all of the students were able to run back inside the school, which is now on lockdown?
That's what I believe, yes. That's what I saw.
And you say that you heard the shots, or did you hear, can you give us an idea of how many shots you heard out there?
What I recall is I heard 3 shots.
3 shots?
Yes.
Were the men that were shooting, were they saying anything? Did it appear that they were fighting?
I didn't see anybody shooting. I just heard the shots.
Oh, okay. And have you, I mean, you work in the area. Have you seen violence like this in the area in the past?
Not really, no. I've been here for 15 years. I haven't seen anything.
Wow. In your opinion, were the police there pretty quickly?
It took them a couple minutes.
Mm-hmm. And
actually, after the shooting, I walked there, you know, further up a little bit to see, but I didn't see anything. Then the police stopped coming in. They start coming in.
Okay. You just heard a few gunshots then out there with those men. Did it seem like the two men were shooting at one another, or
no,
perhaps?
I didn't see those two men.
You did not shoot them?
No, I didn't see those guys.
Okay, you did not see them, but what we have learned is that there were at least two people that police are searching for, two suspects involved, but
I believe so, yes.
But from what you could see and hear, it did not appear that they were purposely shooting at the school, or did it seem?
I have no idea, man. I don't know.
Okay. But we do certainly appreciate the information that you gave us. Again, that you did hear gunshots and ran out to look, and all of the children that were perhaps outside for lunch in the area did run into the school. That school, again, Champs Charter High School, is on lockdown because of these shots that were fired. And we do know that police are looking for two suspects. But, sir, again, you said that you only heard a few gunshots.
Yeah, I heard 3 shots, actually.
3 shots. Now, I don't know how much you know about weapons, but did it sound like these were from high-powered weapons?
I'm sure it was a handgun shot.
Handgun shots.
I'm pretty familiar with guns and shooting.
Okay, so it sounded like they were handguns there that were fired out in the area of the school. Sir, can you give us an idea of how close this was all happening to the school? Is it next door, did you think?
It's right at the next door from the alley. There is a driveway next to the school. It happens right there. Okay,
but you hadn't heard any type of commotion or anything happening prior to these gunshots that you heard?
So one of the neighbors, they came in, they said there was in a Starbucks, some people, one of them ran away, ran that way. That's what they told me.
Oh. Implying that the person that was involved had been in the Starbucks or was at the Starbucks?
Yes.
Oh, but that person only saw one person that may have been.
Yes.
Okay, but we understand that police are actually looking for 2 suspects. And sir, you didn't.
But they said there was 2 suspects.
Two suspects.
Young guys, they were.
And we understand that there were 2 people that were shot. Did you see those victims that were shot, sir?
No. 2 young guys, which they were running or shooting or whatever. That's what they told me.
Yes. Well, we understand that there are 2 suspects and 2 people that were shot, and police are searching for those 2 suspects. And certainly this has got to be a frightening time for parents as we wait word to find out who those victims are. Again, the shooting happening at Champs Charter High School. This is at the corner of Van Nuys and Van Owen. We've been joined by Nazareth, who works in the area at a tire shop nearby, who did hear the gunshots and went out to investigate what was happening. He's heard from people in the area that one of the suspects may have been in a Starbucks. But again, police tell us that they are looking for 2 suspects, and they do have 2 victims that were shot. All of this happening at the intersection of Van Nuys and Van Owen in Van Nuys. This is next to Champs Charter High School, and those students at the school are now on lockdown. This happening just after noon, possibly during lunchtime. The gentleman who was on the phone with us says that he saw a lot of the students outside, perhaps on their lunch break, when he heard those gunshots, and he heard from others that these suspects were running. 2 young guys were running away from the area. Again, if you are just joining us, we are following breaking news from Van Nuys. This is where there has been a shooting near Champs Charter High School. This is a school for students involved in performing arts. We've been told that 2 people were injured in the shooting. At this point, we do not know if these 2 people are students or not. We are waiting for word on how seriously injured these 2 people were. Again, police tell us that they are searching for 2 suspects at this time. I'll get this again happening at in Van Nuys. And joining me now on the phone is Scott Reese, former LAPD officer. Is that correct, Scott?
Yes.
Scott, tell us a little more about when a situation happens like this, so close to a school.
What they're going to do is they'll establish a CP command post. They're going to ensure that the suspect himself has not entered into the school premises at this point in time, and then they're going to establish where the crime actually occurred and what victims you might have, and they're going to treat them accordingly.
This certainly has to be frightening. It sounds like the students were out for lunch when this shooting happened. Of course, we don't know if the shooting had anything to do with the students or, unfortunately, just a coincidence that it happened so close to the campus. But we do understand that the lockdown happened. But it's got to make things difficult for these officers that are looking for the suspects.
Well, they're trained to do this, and this is their job. And I'm sure what they're doing is they're being overly precautious about ensuring that it isn't related to the school itself. It could be a completely separate incident that just by happenstance happens to occur adjacent to the school campus. But the officers are well trained for this. LAPD has really good protocols in place for this type of situation.
You have to wonder, though, Scott, when all of the students go running into the school, that, your suspect could also go running into the school at the same time, blending in with the students if these were two young gentlemen or two young men that were involved in the shooting.
Well, that's absolutely correct. And if that's the case, if they make that determination, I guarantee you they're going to start bringing the students out one at a time. SWAT will come in. They'll start clearing it out, in addition to supplemental officers from Metropolitan Division who are highly trained. And they're going to start clearing that school out one student at a time and searching.
And is there some type of protocol to really keep the students calm in a situation like this? And I have to imagine that a lot of parents are going to be showing up in the area as well.
Well, I think what's happened in the last, say, decade or so, unfortunately, is that kids are, the students now are very well aware of active shooters. There are policies in place not only in the school system but also within police departments. The education has taken leaps and bounds from what it was a decade ago as to how to respond and how to maintain control over the situation. So I'm sure that that's in place right now as well.
And what kind of advice do you give to parents that are watching right now who just have an urge to rush to the campus? As a mom myself, I know that would probably be my first, response is to go to the campus to check on my own children. What do you tell parents, though, in a situation like this? What should they really be doing?
Well, it's a natural response, and, we're parents as well, so I think, if you want to go there, they're going to have an area where they're going to sequester all the parents off to the side. They're not going to be allowed to enter the school. They're not going to be allowed to impede or interfere in any way, shape, or form with the officer's clearance of the high school itself. So they're just going to have to stand by like everybody else and just await the situation as it unfolds.
Yeah, and the timing of it is certainly not good, that it was happening during lunchtime when so many of these students were out and about. And, what I thought was a little surprising was the amount of the fire personnel on scene, Scott. I don't know if you're able to see what we're seeing from Sky 9 at this point, but so often it seems as though fire and other rescue crews have to stay back a little bit while they are still looking for the suspects.
No, as I said, all the response protocols have changed dramatically. And one of the things, if you have the assets, we're going to bring fire, paramedics, TCCC, which is Tactical Combat Casualty Care individuals. A lot of them are police officers who have been trained in that manner. A lot of them are in SWAT. And what they're going to do is they're going to stand by, and that way if they have any injuries at all, they're going to be able to treat them, stabilize them to a greater or more effective degree than we did in the past. And that's why you see that large response of fire on the scene.
Yes, and typically what happens with the students that are inside? A lot of us, wondering what's going on with the students. What do the police tell the teachers and the administrators to do with the students inside the campus there?
Well, the best thing is for each individual class just to lock down within that classroom. Police are going to come up. We're going to identify. We're going to have individuals in there. They're going to do a tactical response mechanism. So we're going to come down very slowly. We're going to literally empty out every classroom one at a time as we go down. So the best thing you can do is just hold in place, what we call shelter in place. I think that's the term that has been bantered about quite a bit, and it's an appropriate term.
Do you think that as these students are released, they'll have to be walked to a nearby restaurant or business, or for parents to pick them up? What typically happens?
No, what they'll do is the police are going to have a secondary CP where they're going to bring the individuals over. They're going to clear them and allow them to be released. I doubt school is going to go on for the rest of the day. That's somewhat self-obvious. But what they're going to do is allow these students to come through, screen them to ensure that there are no other individuals who might be suspects. that have, ensconced themselves within the student body itself.
Again, we're talking to former LAPD Officer Scott Wrights this afternoon about this shooting that happened. And we certainly appreciate the information that you have given us. And we have been following this breaking news on CBS. We will be staying on KCAL 9. And of course, you can get more information on our website. We will continue now on KCAL 9. And for those of you that are just joining us here on KCAL 9 at 1 o'clock, we are following breaking news from Van Nuys right now. This is a live look at Champs Charter High School that is on lockdown. Police tell us a shooting happened near the school, again, Champs Charter High School, which is a school of the arts or multimedia and performing that has a number of students there. But what we heard from someone who was working in the area was just after about noon, he heard some shots fired. He believed he heard 3 shots fired. Police tell us that they are now looking for 2 suspects and that at least 2 people have been injured in the shooting. We had heard a little earlier that the shots were fired at the campus there, but we have not heard who those victims are, whether or not they are students or just someone that may have been in the area. Again, this all happening just after noon when these shots rang out at the intersection of Van Nuys and Van Owen in Van Nuys at Champs Charter High School. We have been following this since our chopper was up above. We've seen a lot of police presence and fire crews in the area as they continue to search for the 2 suspects and treat the 2 people that were injured. We spoke to a former LAPD officer who told us that officers are likely going from room to room, searching the school so that they can make sure that those suspects are not inside that campus, and they will be clearing those classrooms, and that the students will likely be moved to another area where they can meet up with their parents. But again, certainly some tense, so much information still coming in. What we are learning now is that the shooting actually happened across the street from the school, but those shots were, what we're hearing, were towards the campus. Students were out at lunch at the time. Students were racing back into campus, where the campus was then put on lockdown. Again, we are still waiting for word on who those 2 victims are. And again, police continue to search for 2 suspects that were involved in this shooting that happened across the street from Champs Charter High School at the corner of Van Nuys and Van Owen. Still so many questions about what led up to the shooting and who these people are that fired the shots. And of course, who was injured in this shooting. Of course, we are staying on top of this story, and of course, we will bring you information as soon as we get it. But what we do know at this point is that a shooting happened across the street from Champs Charter High School just around noon today. 2 people were hit. 2 people are being searched for by the police. They say that these 2 people are suspects. Again, we spoke with a man who works nearby who says that they were allegedly 2 young men that were seen running from the scene. It is very early in the investigation. Of course, police tell us that they are still looking for those suspects. And sometimes when a shooting happens, people, their natural tendency is to run. So it's a little quick to say who was running and whether or not they were suspects or just people trying to get out of the area because shots were being fired in the area. But police do tell us that they are looking for 2 suspects. We have no description of those suspects at the time. And we have not heard yet who those victims are, but we do know 2 people were injured in this shooting that happened right across the street from Champs Charter High School around noon today while some of the students were out on their lunch break this afternoon. Certainly a scary time for students and I'm sure administrators and parents who are hearing that their students' school is on lockdown. And police are telling us that certainly this area is blocked off for parents who may have a tendency to want to rush to the school, that they need to give police the time that they need to take care of this information. Of course, we are going to continue to follow this story throughout the day for you. You can certainly get more information on our website, kcal9.com, and we will have more for you today on KCAL 9 at 4 o'clock. Thanks so much for watching KCAL 9 News at noon. For Markina Brown and everyone here at KCAL 9, I'm Amy Johnson. Remember, we're always on at kcal9.com. See you back here at 4.
They moved someone in right away.
And how much rent was
February 1st,
how much
someone was in
rent
there.
was that person supposed to pay?
$600.
Same as yours.
Exactly.
Was there another tenant that moved in a day after?
According to the other roommates, no.
And what does according to the other roommates mean? That's hearsay. And did you, after you received the summons in this complaint, call the plaintiff up and threaten her?
No.
Do you have any proof of that?
Yes, I do. Basically, I just said, I'm just waiting for the police to witness your behavior and help me serve you your court order for my money you promised to send to my new location. And she then replied with, have you been going to your AA meetings? You are.
Let me see that.
And
well, that's not threat. Besides, I was never properly served because I didn't open the door.
Well, that's not, you're not being properly served. That means you're avoiding